Hi, my name is Glenda Delgado. I'm a filmmaker. I've also been a story consultant, script analyst for years, for over a decade. I've been working in the film industry for about 16 years. I got my start as an intern at Rat Pack and then got to work for Pinewood Studios. And through that, got to work with the Henson Studio, and one of my final studio gigs was at Universal Pictures doing acquisitions and development. But one of my favorite gigs was also getting to work directly for Robert Rodriguez. I was a big part of the inception of his TV network, El Rey. But now I actually do a lot of freelance. I help artists develop their stories and their screenplays, and have been doing that for a very long time. And I enjoy doing it. I'm now embracing my own creative voice and making films and taking Robert's advice and embracing my filmmaking journey. But with all that said, I want to talk about Stranger Things from a story analyst perspective and just share my thoughts on the finale. I know there's a lot of um, strong feelings about it out there. And I also want to make it a fun conversation. I'm going to have a special guest. My kid is joining me today, and we're going to talk about the finale together and talk about some of the topics and some of the things that people are discussing greatly online. So let's talk, let's chat, let's analyze. Okay, so one of the ways that I'm embracing my creativity is embracing my love of cosplay. And one of the things that I will be talking about today is my love of Karen Wheeler this season. So, of course, I'm a little messy, but my kid and my husband, for that matter, we all three love cosplay. And so with that, I'm going to introduce my kid, who would like to remain anonymous, which I like. And they're going to come in and join me, this little Demogorgon.
Hello.
Okay, so let's start with talking about what we loved about the finale. Did you like the long epilogue?
Yeah. But there is something that we want to talk about later about the epilogue.
What is that?
The Conformity Gate.
Yes, we will be addressing the Conformity Gate. But I would like to talk about the epilogue and the reason why I loved it. I think we spent so many years with these characters. I think it was a nice way that wasn't abrupt to say goodbye to these characters that we love. I thought it was beautiful. I cried. It's a way of saying goodbye to our youth. But that kid is always in us, and that's what makes saying goodbye to our youth so hard. And so when they're walking out of that, when Mike and all the kids are walking out of the room and putting their books back, which, by the way, apparently every book had a copy of their script in it. I just thought it was beautiful. I think people are very upset that the ending was positive, that no one died, but show was always an homage and a love letter to the 80s. And if there's anything that you've seen, baby, in all the 80s movies we watched, like Labyrinth and Goonies and Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones,
Who's going crazy over there?
do the heroes always win?
Yes.
So how do you feel about the ending with all the characters surviving in the end?
I think it was pretty good. I thought it was like homage to 80s films, like you were saying. And overall, pretty good.
Did you feel it was too long?
Too long? No, because it was Stranger Things.
One thing about the ending and about the whole show, especially that last moment with Dungeons and Dragons, with D&D, we love D&D now, right?
I play D&D. I'm trying to teach my friends D&D.
Yes, they're creating character sheets for them, right?
Well, I'm helping them.
So I think even though the Duffer Brothers have said that they played other games, actually, I think like Magic the Gathering, which is one we want to learn, D&D was a device to help the kids be able to explain what's going on in the story. You know, I think these are writers that are very thoughtful and are thinking about how do we make kids understand the plot and understand what's happening within the story and solve problems, and D&D was a great device to do that. I know some people are upset or saying it's clear they didn't love D&D, it doesn't show in the show, but honestly that wasn't the point. The point was to have a way to have kids be knowledgeable and describe things in the story. It was smart, it was good thinking to include that. And now on another level, having a kid and seeing that there's an uptick in people playing D&D, how beautiful it is that people are now, there's more camaraderie and friendships and creativity because of this show through playing D&D, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about character development. Let's talk about Dustin.
Dustin had pretty good character development.
Why is that? Why do you think he had good character development?
Because he lost Eddie, which made him different. Or are we talking about character development that was developed this season, or?
Yeah, I mean, any way you want to phrase it, but yes, we are talking about the finale. And yeah, I think that Eddie's death did provide good character development for Dustin. It was tragic, it was sad, and it allowed Dustin to be a little different than he was all the other previous seasons. And he didn't deal with that loss lightly. And there was a great payoff in the end when he's doing that speech at his graduation.
And he does the same thing Eddie does.
Exactly. Yeah, this again is good writing when you have something pay off. And this was a very special character to a lot of people, and in particular to Dustin. And he grew because of that. He is, these are children that are losing their youth, and part of losing your youth is dealing with loss, different kinds of loss. For him, it was a friend, and he grows through that process, and also through that process his relationship with Steve grows and evolves and gets challenged. And you want to challenge relationships. Another form of good writing is making sure the relationships are being challenged, that they're not always nice and sweet, that there's something that they're dealing with. And a good way to remember that is Alfred Hitchcock talks about the bomb under the table. And I would look into this, but basically the idea is that you want tension, dramatic tension. And so if there's dramatic tension, you're kind of, in a way, I always feel like the good storytelling is one that kind of feels voyeuristic, or you're kind of leaning in and want to see what's going to happen with a main character or two characters, and in this situation, Dustin and Steve, right?
Right.
What did you think about their relationship and how it was there was so much conflict in their relationship?
Eddie Munson. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I think you told me at one point that you think Steve was jealous.
Yeah.
You thought Steve was jealous?
Yeah.
I think you're right about that. I think Steve might have felt that, hey, I'm still here. You've changed, you're angry, you're basically not living, and you still have a friend here for you. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lucas, do we think he was written well? Do we like his unwavering, beautiful love of Max and how he just did not give up on her?
I thought that was beautiful.
I think so too. And what do you think about that moment that felt like Jurassic Park when they're in the laundry room and he would not turn off the music, and he's like,
being stubborn about it?
He was being stubborn, but why do you think he was being stubborn?
Because have you seen because in season 4 the music brought her back, and he thought maybe that it would bring her back again.
And that's, I think, good storytelling too, is that there's truth in how music can save us. What elevated the show, music's such a huge part of the show. I just think that itself is like creating these rules that then challenge the characters and challenge the plot, like in this situation. And again, here we go with paying homage to films and directors that they love by paying an homage to Jurassic Park. in that moment. Did you think that was cool?
Yep.
And then giving Karen Wheeler a cool moment, right? I love their love of the mamas. I think they did the mamas well, giving Joyce the final like beheading, right? Was that cool? Was that cool or what?
Joyce went like to Vecna's head with an axe.
Do you think what she went through was so painful? Like, don't you think that's so hard for a mama to lose their kid for that long?
Yeah, but you should say more about this because you're my mother.
Yeah, I think that would be painful to not have you for what I think he was missing 6 or 7 days.
6, 7.
I could be wrong, but it was.
7.
I remember just rewatching it, and it was a lot of days. Not just that, but he was tormented for years and dealt with trauma for years after that. And to see your kid suffer, it's like you're suffering too, and your kids don't believe it, but you're suffering almost more to see your babies hurting like that. So I felt Joyce in that moment, and I was glad that she had that moment to behead him. And again, these are story choices. These are elements that make them good writers. All right, so let's talk about, who do we want to talk about, Will or Mike?
Mike, because...
Okay, we'll end with Will. Mike's character development, I thought, was great. And throughout all the seasons, it felt very real. Oh my gosh, that last moment between him and 11 and the purple rain moment, and how you really see that Mike is the heart, like Will said. And Mike is the one that always believed in 11, always believed in Will. And he's just so supportive. And I was glad to see that full circle and come back and have his voice come back as a leader and helping the kids during the big battle, and sitting down with his sister and bestowing Holly with what was the toy called?
Holly the Heroic.
Holly the Heroic, and basically giving her identity for the rest of the show. I think Mike's evolution was beautiful, and it made sense that he would be like the storyteller, writer, because the DM, right?
Yeah, because he was the DM in the first episode.
It's true. So, what else do we want to say about Mike?
He wears a hat now.
He wears a hat now. I loved his evolution. I thought that they ended him well. And yeah, people want to say he was done wrong with the 11 situation, but we're going to get back to that. Let's talk about Will now. Now, Will had the coolest evolution, I think, right? What do you think?
Yeah, he had the one of the coolest evolutions, and he went from the scared kid to what he is now.
Do you think he's relatable, baby?
Yeah.
Why do you think he's relatable?
I don't know. I just feel relatable to Will.
You feel like you identify with him?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know.
I think that we all deal with different forms of fears and anxieties, right?
Yeah.
There's so much, like, there's imposter syndrome. There's all these things that we deal with from day to day. I think
aliens,
fear of aliens. There's things that I think that we all fight internally. And again, this is another writing choice that they made as writers, was to connect Will's physical evolution with his inner evolution.
He has a bowl cut throughout all of the season.
But I think they made his bowl cut look better this finale,
yeah.
don't you think? Yeah. So, I mean, at least his bowl cut evolved too. I just think he was written so well. It was hard to see him suffer for so many seasons. I always thought Noah was an incredible actor. And it was cool to see that he directed the younger version of himself. I think his evolution was beautiful. I remember thinking when he was warging, when he was warging into other characters, that I hope his eyes can turn white, because that would look cool. And of course they did, and they did that. Again, this is these are writers that are thoughtful and thinking about character development. I just think character development. I know I know we're upset about plot holes, and I have my own questions, but I think for me, in my opinion, a strong story has strong characters and character development. And Will's was definitely my favorite. I think that was my favorite. Yours too, right?
Yeah. I liked the evolution of his hair.
Just his hair, though?
Well, not just his hair, but the hair is. I just like. It's funny.
Okay, so let's now talk about 11. Let's get to 11 finally. I think some people didn't like that she sacrificed herself. But what did she do in the first season? Do you remember?
She sacrificed herself. Oh
yes.
My god. That's so surprising.
So are we upset that she sacrificed herself?
No, but a lot of people are.
I think that it made sense. Some people didn't feel like it made sense, but I mean, 11, that was her character through every season, was that she was always serving others. And in this situation, it may not seem, yeah, she was serving others by the sacrifice, but I think she was serving herself too, because it was finally a decision that she could make on her own. And going back and watching the first season and just seeing that she was killing people as a child, it also seemed from a storytelling perspective that there was a price that needed to be paid. When you're, she was killing people left and right. And a lot of times in stories, there has to be a price for that. But I also feel like I believe. Do you believe?
I believe!
I believe in Mike's perspective. And I think a big clue, in my opinion, is Hop. I think, for example, with every loss in the show, another thing they do well is that they make sure that it isn't just forgotten or dismissed. It's always dealt with, like, in a very deep, personal, sad, dramatic way. So when Joyce lost
Will Byers?
No, not Will Byers,
Bob.
but Bob. When Joyce lost Bob, she couldn't move on with Hop that quickly. That whole season, she was grieving his death. When Max lost her brother, the next season, season 4, that whole season, she's grieving his death. Dustin is grieving Eddie's death in the final season. So death is always dealt with appropriately in a very real way. And the fact that Hop does seem like he's healed and processed after losing his second daughter, I feel like that's a sign that perhaps he knows what's up, and he knows that she's probably safe somewhere. And it seemed like that ending pact that they made, there was going to be an agreement, maybe that there would just be an understand. Like, I just feel like they had reached a point where he would let her go and let her do her own thing, and he would help her escape. I think that she's alive, and I think Hop knows, and I think, him getting a job in Montauk with more money is probably, a way to fund her adventures and fund her escape and fund wherever it is that she's living. What do you think?
Yeah. But you never told me about Hopper funding all that stuff.
That's just my theory. That's just what I think. What's your theory? What do you think? Where's 11? You think she's alive, though, right?
Yeah. I think she went somewhere. Like, they literally show her walking. They literally show her walking to somewhere with 3 waterfalls, like Mike was saying in the first part.
They did. And when they talked about that, normally that's something in storytelling, when you say something like that, it has to get paid off. And so, while it didn't get paid off in the sense that we're not sure it's true, they did still show it, that it's a possibility that it's true. And some people don't like the open ending, but something my husband said really aptly that I love, that I thought was beautiful, is that it's sort of like a D&D adventure. You choose your adventure, right? So you choose how it ended for her. just like you would in Dungeons and Dragons. And Mike is a DM, so he decided already. Right?
Well, technically, aren't the Duffer Brothers the DMs?
Well, yes, in a way.
Alright, we're gonna talk about Demogorgons now.
How do we feel that there were no Demogorgons in the final battle?
Well, I liked everything that it was just so perfect. The only thing that I'm mad about is that there were no Demogorgons. And I learned that they did that because of fear of overuse. But the fandom loves Demogorgons. So why is there a fear of overuse?
That's a very good argument, and you're right. It's kind of like the way in Star Wars there's stormtroopers, and it would be weird to not have any stormtroopers at the end, right?
Right.
I think the overuse thing makes sense. They wanted something epic in the end. I think maybe we needed more of an explanation why they weren't there, but their reasoning for having it just be the main people against Vecna also makes sense from a storytelling perspective. You got something to say, kid?
Yes. Also, I saw on a Discover ad that Nancy was using a flamethrower at a huge bunch of Demogorgons, and that was left out in the show.
So
Yeah,
you're right. They showed Nancy using a flamethrower. Well, I didn't see that. I don't watch trailers. I even tried to avoid posters.
it's a Dolby, or not Dolby. Discover credit card ad.
Oh, so they had Nancy with a flamethrower shooting flamethrower at a Demogorgon.
No, not a Demogorgon. A ton.
Yeah, I mean, the Demogorgon thing I feel is okay that they didn't have. Maybe they need an explanation, but I feel like that's such a modern day convention to always have explanations for everything. I don't think a good story needs to explain every single detail, especially in cinema, because it's almost impossible. And watching documentary, I know people feel like that proves that they made mistakes, or that proves this or that. You know, I know people feel like them writing the ending, still working on the ending while shooting is a bad thing. I actually think it was a good thing. They wanted to make sure that they weren't just set on an ending and wanted to keep developing it. I guarantee you they had some kind of ending. They just wanted to make sure that they were on the right track. And they really were, guys. It really was beautiful. I think a good story doesn't mean it has everything we want, but I think that a good story is something where we feel with the characters, in my opinion. I think the no Demogorgons make sense when they said they didn't want the overuse. That's fine. But also I think because they wanted to focus on Vecna and the kids, and I think that part was very important. And we needed to get to the end at some point, and we wanted that beautiful epilogue, right? So I think it's all timing. We can't expect everything. And I love the explanations that we've gotten online as far as like the emergence of all the creatures to create that one big creature, right? What do you think, baby? What do you think about the possibility or that explanation that people are giving that perhaps all the creatures merged like in season 3?
Well, I personally don't believe that because in they literally show that giant spider monster when it's pretending to be a little tree, and there's still Demogorgons around. So they couldn't have merged into a spider monster that was already big and already there.
Well, I mean, there's other creatures on that planet, right?
Yeah, but then Demogorgons wouldn't be a part of it.
Well, they're saying supposedly the Demogorgons were a part of it.
Yeah, but then why were there so many Demogorgons when the giant tree thing is still there? Like the
well, there weren't any Demogorgons, right? That's why people are upset.
In the second part.
You mean at the ending of Volume 1?
No, the ending of, like, in Volume 2, they show a giant tree, which in the finale, giant tree becomes the giant spider monster, and Demogorgons are still around.
Why do you say they're still around? That's the theory, is that they're not still around, that they're that tree.
Okay. That's the theory.
Well, suffice to say, I think the way you feel about it is fair, and I think people wanting more Demogorgons and wanting them at the end is fair, especially since they're a big part of the whole show. But I also
They're
think
the ones who took Will Byers. Well, there's a theory that Vecna did that we created, but they're saying that like the Demogorgon was hunting him upside down, so they're definitely a big part.
Yeah, I mean they are, and we got to see them in a really cool scene with Will at volume 2, and I think in the end of volume 1, and volume 2 was very focused on the kids and their journey with Vecna. So I think it's fair that it was just them, but I also think it's fair to feel like, where are they? I'm okay with the explanation, but it makes sense if you miss them, and I know you missed them, right? They're very cool creatures.
Yeah.
So for the ending, I think a lot of people are also upset that we didn't get a conclusion for the cops, for Max's mom, for many, many other characters. Justice for Barb.
Justice for Bob.
I think
Justice for Bob.
I think that we needed to focus. I think that they're having them focus on just the main characters was beautiful, and I think it's okay. I think we like I said earlier, we can't always want everything wrapped up or answered. And if that's something that you would like to do in your own storytelling, that's okay. I just don't think that it needed that here. There's things that I missed too, or would have liked to have seen. And the plot hole for me definitely is the military somehow not wanting Will or not wanting anyone else, but it's okay. I think that for one, again, it's an 80s homage, so it isn't about that, and they said it themselves, it's about the kids. And so I was okay to see the transition of these kids and the ending and the conclusion for these kids. And now finally,
Conformity Gate.
Conformity Gate. I think to me, Conformity Gate is proof, even if people are upset or expected more.
If you're fine with the ending, and you could still believe Conformity Gate.
You could still believe Conformity Gate, of course, yeah. I think the Conformity Gate is just proof that people love it. And look, when an artist makes something, I think what we're supposed to enjoy is their art. And yes, we take part in it too. As
the ones saying encore and stuff like that in like circus shows and stuff like that.
We take part in the art too by enjoying it. I mean, we actively take part by dressing up as it. So I can see why we take ownership, and there is a little bit of ownership for us too. But at the end of the day, to me, when I'm even consulting artists, I always give my thoughts. I always talk about what would make it stronger, but at the end of the day, you want to ensure that the artist is doing what they want to do and they're pushing towards their goal. And one thing that Anna Biller always says, who's one of my favorite directors, she did The Love Witch, and she was not she makes her films herself, but not because she wants to, but because they're so unique and different, and she has such a specific vision, and they cost money. And if you watch Love Witch, it's very peculiar. It's definitely an homage of the era that she's replicating. And one thing she said is that if you love something, others will too. And they wrote something that they knew they would love. Even Quentin Tarantino talks about writing films in the way that he wants to see them, writing them fun for himself, and then we get to enjoy in that. So I think the Duffer Brothers did the right thing of saying this is a story about these kids. It was about them growing up, and they gave them challenges and growth and change and physical and mental evolutions.
Physical evolutions like their hair?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dustin's hats.
I think they made it about these kids, about these characters, and for them that was always the goal, and I think they did that well. If you're interested, I'm always interested in character driven stories and maybe that's not for you, and maybe you want everything explained. That's okay too. It's just, I do think that they did the right thing by paying homage to films that they wanted to pay homage to, and by making us fall in love with these characters and these stories. And they were so involved in every decision. And I think, and also, our film is very collaborative, and they were very collaborative. Even with Will's coming out scene, they made sure that Noah felt very good about everything that was written in that, and it was beautiful. I was sobbing, I was crying. So I think bravo. I think the finale was perfect. I think they did what they wanted to do, and they didn't listen to anybody else. I mean, they took in, advice from the writer's room, of course, and I'm sure they listened. The thing about taking advice too is that advice needs to make sense, and at the end of the day, you have to commit to your art and what you're trying to achieve. And I think they did it. What do you think? Did you like the finale?
Yeah, I love the finale. I want to see it again.
Aww. And see, I think that's also good writing when it has that rewatchability when you want to see something again. And we definitely have seen the finale so many times. We went to see it at theaters twice, on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
And
right?
Yeah, the first time we watched it, we also watched it at home for a little bit. So technically that's I don't
know how many times, right?
Yeah, it's the best episode. Well, aside from the piggyback in season 4.
Do you want to rate your favorite seasons? What's your top season?
Season 4.
Season 4, then?
Season 5.
Then?
Season 3.
Then?
Season 1.
And then?
Season 2.
Nice. I think my order is going to go season 1, because it's just epic and beautiful, and the cinematography is beautiful, the mystery is beautiful, these
music.
kids,
I keep hearing
the music. Yeah, I rewatched season 1, and I feel like Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein's music is more prevalent. The vibe is just different. I'm actually going to say season 4 for my second best, because, I mean, come on, I think we all agree season 4 is just perfect. It's incredible. Awesome. Vecna. Yeah, you want your villains to, that's another thing. Great thing about storytelling, or a great thing to include, is a villain with a purpose. And so season 4 definitely ups the stakes with a really cool villain. Then I would say season 2. I know people hate on season 2, but season 2, they're still kids, which was part of the beauty of the show. We get to learn about Jane. That's when the relationship between Steven and Dustin starts budding, and the relationship with Max and Lucas starts there, and you really see how cute and how great their friendship and relationship is. And I love that it starts as a friendship. And then I'd say, yes, 5, the finale, which was great. It was perfect. But I'm still gonna put it 4th, and then 3 would be my on the bottom. I loved it as well, but I don't think I was. It doesn't hit the same way. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But I loved it all. I'm gonna miss it. I'm having all the withdrawals that everybody's talking about. I want storytelling to be an escape, and that's what this was. And it's okay if you didn't like it. I'm not necessarily right. I'm just sharing what I think makes the story strong, and I love supporting artists and their vision. And I always just try to encourage ways to make your story stronger, and then also encourage your voice. And I think they did all that, made their story stronger in all ways they could, and embraced their own voice as well. And it had a through line that all felt great and beautiful and epic and awesome, and it was a cool love letter to the 80s. And
I think that the season is overall pretty good. I don't remember part 2 that much, so I can't say that much about it. I've seen part 1 a million times, and I've seen the finale a trillion times.
And basically, thank you to the Duffer Brothers, right?
Yeah.
It was a great escape. It continues to be a great escape for us. And I think we're going to keep this wall up forever, right?
Yeah, I asked if you could do that. Sounds like a yes.
So again, my name is Glenda. I'm a story consultant. You can hit me up directly. I have my email in the description. I also have my freelance links with different freelance sites if you want me to meet with you or analyze anything for you. And I'm here to share my filmmaking journey. You'll see that posted online. I'm going to try to do more of these videos more often. And yeah, I hope this helped you. I hope you had fun. He said we'll see you in the next one. If not, he'll come and grab you from your room and take you to the abyss. But maybe that's where you want to go. Maybe you want to go to Dimension X. I don't know. But with that, I just want to say thank you. Subscribe for more content and to hear more about my filmmaking journey, get more of my thoughts. Again, I've been a professional in the film industry for over a decade and am here to help you out or here to just have fun and geek out. All right, talk to you later, guys.